I'm Manuel Hernandez and welcome to Norwich City Central.
Hello everybody, Lewis, Norwich City Central. I hope you're all doing well. Norwich City ruining Boxing Days since 1902. I think that's 14 out of the last 18 Boxing Days Norwich have lost, and a poor display from Norwich City. Watford 1, Norwich City 0. Watford's new manager takes over and they get a deserved victory. Watford, of course, who are fifth in the table, played really well, beating Norwich City 1-0. They probably deserve to win by more goals as well. Norwich City never really got going in this game. In terms of a Norwich City perspective, though, despite the poor performance, no need to panic. We're still top of the league, and it's all about the next games now. Of course, this becomes a problem if you then use your next games, but if Norwich City put some good performances in against Barnsley and QPR at home, that all changes. So no need to panic. Watford are a good team, and disappointing, of course. I think there's kind of five or six teams who are going to be fighting for that top two at the moment, and I would say it's us, Bournemouth, Watford, and then the other teams are probably Swansea and Brentford as well. So Watford are a good team at this level, but of course that's not the point. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below in the comment section. Of course, Norwich City losing, I think that might be our second loss in around 16 games. We've been in great form, but we can't win them all. I think the Norwich City players probably had too many pigs in blankets on Christmas Day for this one. Watford coming into this game with the best home record, Norwich City coming into it with the best away record. Something was probably going to give, and Watford were the ones who won. And normally when a new manager comes in, you get that new manager bounce, don't you? Where the first couple of the games, the players play for their manager like their lives depend on it. Of course, that was the case against Norwich today. And Norwich never really got going in this one. Kieran Dow and Cantwell came into the side. It looked like a really good lineup, but it was just one which never really got going. Watford pretty much said to Norwich they can have the ball, have possession of the ball, and we'll hit them on the counter, and that's what they did in the 12th minute. Watford got down our left-hand channel. Jakob Sorensen against Sarr, who's a £40 million transfer fee, was always going to be a mismatch. Gets down to the side, cuts it back to Andre Gray, and he really should score from about 12 yards out. It looked like he scored as well, but it went just wide of the post. And that's the thing with Norwich. I just think today, players like Sarr were the difference. Just their pace and counter-attacking play were the difference. Norwich had lots of the ball, but didn't really have any penetration. We were forced to long shots. But a big turning point in the game, and the referee, in my opinion, was terrible. I think he got a really bad decision wrong in the first half, which would have changed the whole complexion of the game. Look, Watford deserved the win, but a really poor decision from the referee. Capoue gets a yellow card for a terrible challenge on Buendia. He kind of stamps down on Buendia as he does it from about 25 yards out. It was a clear yellow card, possibly even a red. And then Capoue 5 minutes later tugs back on Kieran Dow's shirt on a counter-attack. Now, for me, if you're on a counter-attack, is about 30 yards away from the goal, and you get two tugs on the shirt, two clear tugs of the shirt, it's a yellow card, and then Capoue would be sent off, and that was at 0-0. It would have been a whole different game, and for me, it was a woeful decision from the referee. I think he was blocked by the view of maybe Capoue, but yeah, there was a clear pullback on the shirt, and how the referee doesn't give that is astonishing. And that changes the whole complexion of the game. But saying that, Norwich didn't have too many shots. Watford were very condensed. Norwich loved to play through the middle of the pitch, and they forced us wide. And in wide areas, Max Aaron's delivery was poor in this game, and Jakob Sorensen didn't even think about putting a cross in the box. It was nowhere near. But Watford took the lead in the 38th minute. Sarr getting the goal. Came from a counter-attack as well, down our right-hand side of the pitch, actually. Max Aarons, who is Mr. Consistent, Mr. Reliable for Norwich City, hasn't really put too many bad performances in for Norwich. He's been a top-tier player. He's been absolutely fantastic. But for me, probably had his worst game of the season, and that's probably coming off the back of his best away performance. Poor from Aarons, lets the Watford player cross the ball in, and Sarr hits it in from 6 yards out. Probably poor from Sorensen as well, gets the wrong side of Sarr. You can't be allowing, a simple cross to come into the box and an easy tap, and it's really poor defending for Norwich. And Watford should have made it 2-0 just before the break as well. Andre Gray from 6 yards out just scuffs the ball and it goes over the bar. He really should be scoring, and Andre Gray is a player who's out of form. And half-time 1-0. And just going on to a point here, before I talk about the second half, I'd much rather be still a Norwich fan than a Watford fan in terms of the long-term future. Watford just sack managers here and there, and I think Watford's philosophy and Watford's hierarchy is toxic. I think Watford's hierarchy is absolutely disgusting. The way they sack managers is terrible. And in my opinion, if they kept hold of Nigel Pearson, they might have stayed up. I think they would have stayed up, and Aston Villa would have gone down. And look, Aston Villa now look like a team who are going to compete for the Champions League spaces. But I don't like how Watford hire and fire managers. I think it's a terrible way for a manager to live. And look, Watford have spent many years in the Premier League, 5 years in the Premier League, but now they're in the Championship. If they don't get promoted, with the amount of manager contracts they pay and the amount of contracts, they will come unstuck financially. I feel they've got to change. I feel like their philosophy where they're spending ridiculous amounts of money on players, and got to try and have a long-term plan with a manager. But that's my opinion. Bit off topic there. In terms of the second half, Watford played very well. They had that new manager bounce. Oliver Skipp, who again has been Mr. Reliable, Mr. Consistent, plays a terrible back pass, and Watford suddenly are 2-1. And you feel like Watford for all the world are going to score, but Oliver Skipp comes back. Really good challenge to Scott. I think Troy Deeney scoring. So Oliver Skipp atones for his error. But Watford from the 45th minute to the 65th minute had all of the play. Norwich City could not even put three passes together. It was terrible. It was like watching a Premier League display after lockdown, and believe me, I do not want to go back to those days. Watford were all over us. Lots of corners, lots of good chances, and we were terrible. But Norwich City, as the game grew in the second half, Watford were kind of happy with their 1-0 lead. They really should have been 2-3-0 up, but they were happy with their 1-0 lead. They started to sit back, and that's when Norwich City started to grow in the game in the second half. That Ben Foster didn't really have a save to make. The big turning point in the game happened in the 82nd minute. The ball deflects somehow to Pukki. Pukki's 8-9 yards out. It's a golden chance for him, and Pukki just shoots. Just takes too long with it, and Kiko Firmino makes a challenge from behind and wins the ball. And could it have been a penalty? Possibly. It was a very interesting one. For me, I think a lot of people were disappointed it wasn't a penalty for Norwich, but I can see why it's not a penalty. I think Kiko Firmino probably makes a challenge of the season. It's a great challenge from behind, wins the ball, takes Pukki out as well, but I think he wins the ball first. So I don't think it is a penalty, but Pukki should be scoring. Norwich City have most of the play. Christoph Zimmerman decides to start playing under 6 football. I don't know what he's doing. A terrible back pass to McGovern, and Troy Deeney should make it 2-0. But yeah, Norwich City kind of huff and puff, but don't really create too many chances. Watford's game plan were excellent. They were really good on the counter-attack, and Watford congested the play, put so many bodies in the middle. And what Norwich love to do, Buendia darting runs in the middle. We love to play through the middle, and Watford just condensed the area, forced us out wide. And as I said, Max Aarons' delivery was poor, and Jakob Sorensen didn't look like putting a good delivery in the box all game. So yeah, Watford 1, Norwich 0. Overall, Watford deserved the win. But also perspective for Norwich City. We are currently 4 points clear. Yes, Bournemouth have got a game in hand to potentially close that gap, but Norwich City has several points clear, playing some really good stuff. Yes, it was a poor display, but even the best teams in the league have poor displays, and we are the best team in the league. Watford are a good team, so yeah, no need to panic. It's all about how Norwich City respond in the next couple of games, but I'm more than confident we can. I'd like to see Ben Gibson come back in, and Javi Quintilla now coming in at left back will be really nice, although Sorensen's done a good job there. Overall, full time, the Hornets win. Watford win as their manager as the manager in his first game in charge, gets the 1-0 win. Norwich City lose, but remain top of the table. Disappointing Boxing Day. Maybe just too many pigs in blankets for the Norwich City players. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.